Econ 70 is an immersion class that combines classroom learning with a real-life field experience. We started a term in the fall by studying the fundamentals of macroeconomics and how to apply these principles to an emerging market, specifically Chile and Argentina.
We spent the entire fall comparing the economies of the two countries, and it wasn't really your typical textbook kind of thing. We read a lot of news articles, we talked to professionals in the financial sector and in international organizations, and we also had student presentations on certain topics.
And what we learned is that Chile started off relatively poor, but through successful macroeconomic policies and reforms, they were able to increase their growth and productivity.
Argentina, on the other hand, started off relatively wealthy, but through populist policies has stunted its growth and has fallen further behind.
So we spent 2 weeks in the field, 1 week in Argentina and 1 week in Chile. As a class, we did a lot of activities together. For example, we visited the finance minister of Chile. We went to some lectures by professors.
The fieldwork I found actually blew my mind because it was not only dynamic, it was incredibly group-oriented. So the example that really is at the top of my head here is the entire class met with Chile's chief minister of finance and his chief of staff, and I found that just an incredible experience.
In the field, we divided into 4 different groups to study topics that we had chosen in depth. Teams studied income inequality, female labor force participation, startups, and pensions.
And our group actually looked at entrepreneurship and startups in both Chile and Argentina and tried to juxtapose the two. And because of that, we were actually very fortunate to meet with a lot of very interesting people. For instance, we met with Sebastian Diaz, the head of Startup Chile, one of the kind of government-run programs that helps develop startups throughout the whole country. We met with the head of Uber down in Argentina as well. And then we were actually able to meet with a lot of venture capital firms that were kind of funding this new wave of startups that were occurring in both Chile and Argentina.
I think the biggest thing, like the most valuable part of the fieldwork was oftentimes kind of when I'm doing research in class or something, there's a ton of selection and confirmation bias going on. So I have, a thesis or something in the back of my head, and I've read, 1 or 2 articles, and I look for articles that cite or build off of that original article. When we went down into the field, it was totally different because you were actually having these open, free-flowing conversations with people, and it's not just like you were reading and could kind of select through an article for the one topic you wanted to hear. You had to get kind of this broad perspective, and within that you kind of saw the complexity that I think oftentimes you don't really see within kind of the 3 pages of an academic article that you want to cite. I think the other really valuable thing was talking to regular people. My group had 2 or 3 kind of just informal chats with students, people who were working with us about kind of how they felt about different policies.
Yeah, being an economics major, clearly I love economics and I love studying it, but one just hindrance of studying anything in a classroom is that you learn the theoretical models and you might do research in the classroom, but you never really get the full picture of what's happening. And I think I definitely undervalued field work before coming here because I thought, okay, we've done all of our research, we read all the relevant research papers, and we read the current news, we know what's going on. And then having come here, I saw that actually talking to people on the street and talking to policymakers and people doing academic research, that a lot of what we thought was we emphasized the wrong things, or the trends were hiding other causes, or just some of the latest information is just completely false.
Yeah, so I'm a senior, and it's been one of my favorite courses I've taken so far. The thing that I really liked is a lot of the courses you take at Dartmouth are pretty theoretical, and this was more applied in that you got to understand how specific economic policies affected the countries and how it led to their current positions. And we went sort of to the next level of that, of actually visiting the countries and getting to talk with current leaders and academics and how they're thinking about future reforms. So that's been fascinating.
I feel like in a lot of our other Dartmouth classes, we don't have the capability to kind of go out in the world and actually see what we're talking about put into action. So I really just appreciate the opportunity to have this level of responsibility of meeting with people who are really established in their field and who are experts and who are willing to speak with undergrads.
The field research was really intense. We incorporated everything that we learned from multiple experts who we interviewed into a final research paper.
In addition, each team gave a final presentation to the faculty at SEMA in Buenos Aires.
I'm going to give you a brief overview of a little bit how the pension system is structured and funded in Argentina.
So I'm a senior at Dartmouth, and I had never studied abroad while here, and this was actually my first time going abroad in my life. So thank you so much to the Political Economy Project. This trip was amazing.